Jon Grubb. Hey, buddy, what's going on?
I am good. Lots is going on. That's the easy answer. But thanks for having me.
It's good to see you. Good to see you. For those that are watching, my name is Clark Brown, Restoration Advisors, and this is my good friend Jon Grubb with United Restores. I was telling someone earlier this year, Jon, that if I had a brother, someone asked if I had any siblings, and I said if I had a brother, it would be Jon Grubb. Now, Jon Grubb has a brother, and he might not want to share him, but just a lot of connectivity, a lot of late night texts that we have, even though we're a couple time zones apart. But Jon Grubb is owner of United Restores, which is a digital marketing agency, really PPC management, Google Ads, just a really, really well encompassed. We'll talk more about it, but digital marketing has obviously been in the restoration business long enough to know the ins and outs and stays on top of what it takes to get eyeballs to make your phone ring. And then we were partners, and we still are. We're still partners in the Alliance of Independent Restorers and a lot of other ventures that are just trying to raise the bar in this industry. And I think his service, my services that we do for a living, supplement those things that mean the most, which are small to medium-sized businesses doing better and thriving in a very complicated, congested marketing world. And so that's your intro, Jon. I hope you liked it.
I do. That's a very high compliment. I consider you a brother too, but we would be like that movie Twins. So I think I'm Danny DeVito to your Arnold Schwarzenegger. So
I think it's okay to be we could be stepbrothers. We could be more like Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, and that's probably more accurate. It's probably more accurate. One's serious and one's not.
I enjoyed that documentary. So yeah.
Tell me, let's catch up. You and I have chatted, but tell me what's going on with United Restores. I have been stuck in my own world, but tell me what's been going on with you guys. I see a lot of new content, a lot of posts, and a lot of people saying their work. I see people tagging you online. So tell me what's going on with UR.
So we celebrated 10 years of business earlier this year, about April, maybe end of March, depending on how you calculated it. But that was, for me, that was a big, I kind of woke up one day at year 9 and realized, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for going on 10 years. And so when I hit that anniversary, I thought, this is something I should celebrate. The first, I joke and say, the first year and a half in business, my wife would come into my home office about once a week and say, do you think it's time to get a real job? And that actually happened. I mean, that happened on a number of occasions, but we started with 2 clients and lost one of those about 4 months in, added another one, and we've just grown since. And it wasn't until 2020 that we added a second service. Based on some advice I got real early on, decided to kind of hyper focus on pay-per-click management, which is paying to be at the top of Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Brave, etc., because they all use Google as their ad platform. So we focused on that, and in 2020, I saw some companies really doing social media well, and some companies doing social media really, really poorly. And we had for a time referred those social media needs out to another party. This company was kind of getting away from restoration as a vertical. And so I thought long and hard about it. And for me, I've got to have a system. So I spent several months over that summer, just figuring out, okay, can I draw this up on a whiteboard? Can I employ a strategy? Does it make it, can I replicate it? That's the big question. Can I, and monetizing always comes last. Even when I launched this company, the week before, we went live, I didn't know what I was going to charge for our service. I had really wrestled with it and then went forward. And it was the same with social media. It was, can we do it? Is there a formula that should be followed? And then I decided with social media to make all that public. So you can go on our website now under Facebook marketing, and it is our entire strategy with a calendar you can follow for posts. The 4 legs all posts fall into, and very little of it has to do with what restorers actually do on a daily basis. We only focus 25% of posts on the actual service of restoration. So that brought us to 2020. We're doing 2 whole services now. And then this year we launched GeoFencing pretty recently. And it came as a result of a client who said, "What do you think about this?" And I said, I'm familiar with it. I've looked into it. What we do is considered active advertising. And it is someone is in their home, they've got a water damage, they pull out their phone and they look for help, right? And so the ads that they see, that's a form of active advertising. Passive advertising doesn't always translate to emergency services. So when I have looked into different, how else can we generate, specifically water damage work, I always have that, well, is it active or passive? And from building a brand from that standpoint, passive is good. But the client that came to me had a very unique use case. And as I sort of chewed on that in the evenings and in the shower and laying in bed at night, I kind of had a light bulb moment and thought, okay, this is this can be pretty big. This is pretty revolutionary. And so went with a platform that I'd done a lot of research on, and we've launched it, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you shared a little bit of that with me, and then I went down the rabbit hole with it, and I'm just like, this is. And then the first thing I think I ask you is there anybody else doing this? And they're like, not for our space. And I love blue oceans, I love purple cows, but it has so much potential and so much. It ties into how the world operates with their smart devices and stuff like that. But go back for just a minute to the first part. I want to dive in a little bit more of that. You said 10 years. I always ask, does it feel like 10 years, or are you like, how has it been that quick? Or it feels like 15? Which one is it?
No. In my case, so it feels like maybe a year and a half. I go back and look at, how much more gray I have in my beard and how many more lines on my face I have, and how big my kids are. Half my kids are bigger than me now. So yeah, I look at stuff like that. And no, it is just flown by. So we have been absolutely blessed beyond measure for, the living it's provided for me, staff, and the challenge and the clients we've gotten to work with. Almost all great clients, a couple bad eggs in there. But we tend to find those pretty quick. So it's been amazing. It really has. There are still days, and I've said this on, probably on a podcast with you in the past, that I still have days where I'm driving in to the office. It's a 6-minute commute from home, as long as I don't hit high school traffic. But there are still days where I drive in and I cannot believe I'm not working at one of in my 20s alone, I had 11 different employers. Of the 15 or so different jobs I've had, I still pinch myself thinking I work for myself. It's just, I'm still kind of in shock about it 10 years later.
And you fire yourself every week, don't you?
Man, I should try to.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you've told me that before, that you had you were on a tear for a while. I think you were trying to set a record, but I feel the same way. I don't know, time feels collapsed, and I'm older now. We both are. I don't know who's got more gray. I've certainly got, you probably got more.
Oh, I've got more gray.
I cut mine down, but I just I feel like I'm just getting started, John. And maybe that's what keeps us going, is that optimism. I don't want to get too deep of a dive, but I was not really a big Tony Robbins fan, but I watched a clip today that he was on stage with another person I really do like and a whole lot. And I believe everything Tony said. He's magnificent, but I just have heard too much of it. But he was just talking today, and I think this relates to this only in success is one thing, but without a why, without the passion of what you do and a fulfillment that attaches with it, and you have a bigger why. We both do. We've talked about that, but he gave an example that really shocked me, and I watched it with one or two of my teammates, and he knew Robin Williams personally. I think he knows everybody. He's been on 100 country presidents. He said that he would get Robert Williams said he wanted to be a comedian and make people laugh. He did that. He wanted to have a TV show. He did that. He wanted to make the #1 TV show, which I guess is true, Mork and Mindy. And he did it. And then he wanted to get into movies. He did that. And then he wanted an Academy Award. He wanted to get an Academy for something serious, not being funny.
Yeah, dramatic.
He did it.
Yeah.
Hung himself because he had everything, family, but he just wasn't filling something up. And the guy that was on stage with him said, he says, I talk to people that win Oscars or Grammys and they'll call and say, I feel hollow, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that. I don't tell people that because I'm supposed to be happy. And that's, if anyone's listening, off the topic of digital marketing is, man, you just can't reverse engineer this and build a business without that. It's just, everyone tries, and social media, Crisis News Network, whatever you watch will tell you, just go out there and get it. It doesn't work, and you'll spend a lot of time, energy, and money doing it. So geofencing, I loved it. You were telling me about it. So break it down. I believe you've got 2 components. Break it down a little bit. Like, give me a use case, if that helps anyone resonate with what that story would sound like.
Okay, so the client that reached out to me, he specifically wanted to target plumbers in his market. Okay. And me, I am against plumber referral programs, and we all know why. It becomes a bidding war. Is it the most ethical way of bringing in new business month after month? Well, you create a lot of temptation for plumbers. So when he approached me, he approached me with something where it's a passive form of advertising, which I've always kind of kept at arm's length because we're in emergency services, right? And then it's plumbers on top of that. So when I first read his email, my initial reaction was, no, of course not. We're not touching that. And then I started to think about it, and the reality is most restorers are approaching plumbers anyway. And when you're handed the How to Build a Restoration Company 101, page 1 is go talk to plumbers, and we all know that. Every franchise system, many consulting type agencies or academies talk about go talk to plumbers. We get it. Plumbers see water damages every day. So I thought, okay, maybe this is an opportunity to put my own spin on what a ethical and thriving plumbers referral program, and a protected one, would look like. So I'm doing the research on, okay, well, how will we do this? And the idea of geofencing is real simple. And first, this is nothing new. Geofencing has been around for a long time. The best way I know how to describe it is when you go into Target not only knows when you walk in the door, but they know what aisle you're on. They know what bay you're at. They know how long you spend at that bay. They know what products you're looking at in that bay. And that not only helps them understand how to better design their stores to generate more sales, they're also selling all of that data to third parties like me. So that has been going on for years. Target is one of the brick and mortars that pioneered that. The reality is this thing right here has a mobile advertising ID attached to it. It is like a social security number for your phone. And wherever you go with that phone, and we go everywhere with our phone, that phone is reporting to Wi-Fi routers and through GPS. It's reporting your location constantly. That information is then served up to advertisers so that when you walk into that sporting goods store and you go over to the kayaks, the next day you're going to see advertisements for kayaks. And you may think, oh, what a funny coincidence that is. No, it's how the technology works. And it's been happening for years. And I used to be the crazy one that people would go, oh, that's not happening. I was the one in 2014 saying our phones listen to us and serve us ads based on what it hears. And people thought I was crazy. And now people are like, it's a given that happens. Yeah. So what we intend to do with geofencing and what we're starting is a plumber in your market walks into a plumbing supply house that we've geofenced. The minute they walk in, we've got them. We've got their mobile advertising ID. It's obviously anonymous, but that is served up to us as a potential customer that we're going to serve ads to from that point forward. And the ads that we're serving on their phone, which then you leave that plumbing supply house with your phone, you go home and your phone talks to every other internet connected device in your home, right? So your computer, your tablet, your kid's tablet, they're all communicating with one another. And now we've got a sort of like a demographic that we can target with ads. And we're specifically, again, targeting this, hey, plumbers, you can earn this. We can provide you with this. And they're simple display ads that you see on every mobile website, every mobile app, every desktop site. And then we have the potential to serve up TV commercials through any internet connected TV. So services like Roku, Sling, Freevee, Pluto, any of those free or low cost streaming services, those are connected TV services. We can run 30-second commercials there. So we've got one client that's produced the video, one that's shooting one next week, and a third non-restoration client that's going to be shooting one soon. We're actually going to help produce that for him, kind of as a test case. And we're going to get into TV advertising. So scary, but super cost effective. It's really big. So with the plumber thing, it's, hey, if we're targeting, let's say 15 plumbing supply houses in your market, right? So over the next couple of months, we can serve them ads. They're going to start seeing your brand on their phones, on their home computer, on their home laptop, on their tablet. They're going to start seeing these. And maybe they click, maybe they don't, but they're seeing your brand over and over and over and over again. And it is super, super cheap to do that.
And so, especially once whoever they are working with, if they mess up or burn them or whatever that is, they're like,
they're going to have your brand.
I want to change it. Who else will I use? They're like, I see these guys everywhere. And by the way, when you're seeing ads a lot, you're thinking, oh, they must be a good big company, right? That's just the inherited byproduct of that. John, I'm with you. I think we agree that I don't knock it all the tracking and everything else.
Hey, I don't either.
But it's here, and we could either go back to the Stone Age and go flip phones, and they sell phones. I think you had one. We could find phones that don't track, and I've got everything turned off. But luckily, we have a service that actually helps people. I mean, again, I look at things like, if you do good work in your market, you owe it to your community for everyone to know about that. So, and some people want a kayak. If you're looking for a kayak, why not get more? How about paddles? How about life jackets? How about all the things that you probably didn't think about? That, I mean, it's convenient, but so I don't like it as a overarching thing, but you do have an obligation to put yourself out there, and I think this is a tasteful and acceptable way to do so. And you kind of shared it with me, and you launched, and we talked, and I just think it's going to be huge. I really do. So buckle up for the next 10 years.
I know. So this is a good segue into the second use case. And I'll say with use case number one, with local geofence targeted ads, plumber, that's the easy one. As I'm thinking plumbers, well, then I was thinking, well, what other key decision makers should restorers be marketing to? Well, we all know it's insurance agents. It's some brokers. It is property management companies, maybe hospitals where you can, some places you can't, hotel management, stuff like that. So any key decision maker in your market, we can just draw a virtual border around that building. And as they're entering that virtual border, we've got them, and we can start serving ads to them. And then within those, let's say I'm targeting a large convention center, right? And they've got a chief engineer, they've got, it's the decision maker on site in case something, goes awry. I can not only target folks going in and out of that building, I can filter down by age, sex, economics, interest. We can go real deep with the targeting. So again, nothing new. I wanted to read you a list of some companies that use this on a regular basis. Toyota, BMW, Goodwill, Coach, Ulta Beauty, Timberland, American Red Cross, McDonald's. So again, nothing new. This is what Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies have been doing for a couple of years now. Okay, so use case number two, going back to it's here. Do we run from it? And literally, when I explained the service to one of my sons, my 19-year-old, several weeks ago, he said, "So wait a second, you're gonna use the technology that you hate and you're going to monetize it? And I said, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to do that. Cause I vent all the time about, Google and tracking and technology and overreach and things like that. So, here's the second use case. And here's why, frankly, the plumber thing, it is novel. I think it's revolutionary. This one gets me really excited. So catastrophic events. Normally with pay-per-click, what we have done for years, well, I'll tell you what we did for about 8 years. And then prior to that, in my previous job, we were doing the same thing. So we would target paid ads in search on the search results page. Usually we turn them on, a couple days before. And what we found pretty early on, probably by 2015 or so, folks they're trying to get updates. They want to track the storm themselves, and they just click on the first thing they see, and it's a waste of money. So then we pivoted a little bit, and we started targeting right as the storm was hitting or right after. So if it's a big enough storm, we might wait a day or two until the storm has passed and maybe evacuation orders have lifted, and we're gonna get ads going. And then we kind of pivoted again and realized, okay, well, that way you might spend $20,000 in 3 or 4 days trying to target folks in the epicenter of where that storm made landfall. So instead it was, okay, there's a better way of doing this. Let's be very, very particular about the areas we're targeting. So I'll give you an example. Hurricane Harvey rolls through. I start looking at, was that Houston or Dallas? Remind me.
Houston.
Okay. So I start looking around the Houston area, trying to figure out, okay, huge, sprawling metro, right? I don't want to target the whole thing. That'll take hundreds of thousands of dollars to target. But I start looking on a map and I start seeing golf courses. And there's golf courses really clustered around Kingwood, Texas. And decided, okay, that looks pretty prime. And I started going through Zillow, looking at, housing prices and socioeconomic data through the census. Then I realized that's a pretty good area to target. We turned ads on there. We had a client got boots on the ground. He was personally on the ground on a Friday. He starts getting calls, and by Sunday he gets a call from an HOA president that says, can you come present to the residents of my community tonight, and ends up getting the entire area. These are multi-million-dollar homes on a golf course. He spent a couple $100 because we knew when to turn them on and we knew when to turn them off, and we knew the areas to put those ads in, and only that area. So that's the old way, and granted, a very effective way of doing pay-per-click advertising after a cat event. With geofencing, I can take Kingwood, and I can take all the communities around Kingwood and parts of greater Houston. And a week prior to the storm, I can begin serving them ads. And if that storm's big and there's evacuation orders and folks start heading up the interstates, I can then target hotels along those interstates where they're most likely going to be evacuating to. So an hour from home, 2 hours from home. And in the old way that I advocated for years is, as you're driving into town, stop at hotels and drop off flyers. Now we're just doing it digitally. We're putting a flyer in their pocket that they're going to see every time they open their phone. And again, we're doing that for pennies of what you can do with a pay-per-click ad. Right. So for cat events, we're leveraging geofencing targeting technology to go in and saturate an area. And again, if I'm targeting an area, I can specify age ranges, income ranges. We can really drill down to the type of client that we're looking for, that we do, the best work with, and spend a couple $100 and send out thousands upon thousands of ads to these folks. That part is the most exciting, because you and I both know every event, just like the one we had last week in Florida, every event of any kind of magnitude, wolves start coming into the market, or there's blood in the water and the sharks are about to descend. I know that's going to happen. I would much rather have my clients who I vetted, I built a relationship with, who I know their reputation. I'd much rather have them going into these areas and gobbling up a lot of homes than somebody else who's going to come in and scam people and jet. I don't like that at all. So that's why I am so excited. It's an entirely new way for us to target folks that have been through a CAT event.
So what I just learned is if I were to tell someone that's going to watch this video and I know they're ADD, fast forward to minute number 16, because you just dropped the Hiroshima, the Oppenheimer. So, and you also just kind of shared openly how much it's not just sitting in front of a computer targeting an area that looks like it might be. You profiled it with golf courses, which is a logical stereotypical place, and then the path, and I mean, that I honestly didn't know you did all that. I mean, I think this, I don't know how anybody could not be using this technology. And I mean, listen, we always look for an advantage, and unfortunately it's not getting another plumber is not the advantage. It's thinking about what someone else isn't doing and start doing that while they're sleeping at night and wondering why they're going to collect their next check. I mean, I think that's, wow. I mean, that's really, 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 really big. And so we just had a small little, I say small, there were some people.
For some people, yeah.
I don't want to minimize it, but we did not have a catastrophic event. It was just
right.
pretty good. Did you deploy that then, or is it still early, or did you?
No.
Did you
I won't go into great detail, but my sister, my only sister, who has worked for us for 7 or 8 years, moved to one of the hardest hit areas a week before that storm, really about 4 days before that storm made landfall. Yeah. And those folks apparently haven't had a hurricane of that magnitude in 125 years. So they flooded, and I actually went to your Facebook group, one of your Facebook groups, and just said, hey, anybody in this area? And got some responses, reached out really to the first 1 or 2 people that responded, and got her help, got her neighborhood help. That company's still there. They've picked up a lot of projects as a result, and they're doing great work. I was actually in contact with my sister's neighbor, who was kind of elected the point man. And he has given me nothing but good feedback on this company. So no, we didn't deploy it. I was really hoping to, just as like a use case. Fortunately, the Atlantic is the gift that keeps on giving, and we've got 2 more in the chute. So if it hits the Carolinas, I am hoping someone is bold enough to say, I'm going to try this with CAT customers. So on the local targeting side, it's a 3-week ramp up period. There's a lot of work that goes into it on our side. On the CAT side, it's easier to deploy, but we also give priority deployment to those customers. What's the word I'm looking for? They take priority. So we can launch those in 1 to 2 days. And same with pay-per-click. We've done storm chasing pay-per-click, as a separate thing from our normal month-to-month stuff for years now. But we can turn it on. Yes, you are paying for it. It's a one-time setup fee, no monthly management fee for the CAT stuff, and get it going in a day or 2. And I'm hoping someone tries it with this next storm. So
that would be a good case study and validation. Can you target so deep that it targets people that don't have State Farm? I'm probably going to get canceled for saying that. I only want houses with people with good insurance. If there is a good insurance company, I would like them to be. No, I'm teasing, of course. I'm sure there is a good insurance company somewhere. They don't make it easy.
I haven't found them yet. Yeah.
I don't recommend anyone like I do you. So
I know. I just got kicked off my homeowner's policy. They got out of the business completely. And so that forced me to shop for a new one, who will probably continue to do business in the residential space for another year or 2 before they leave. So I'm not a huge fan of that brand either. But
I just think it's an interesting business model. And I mean, you and I have seen so many things happen, that's never talked about, and it rivals things that are criminal. I mean, there are certainly criminal activities that happen on all sides, but I've seen some things that are legislatively, this is not what this call's about, but legislation protects some of their activities just because of influence they have in lobbies. So it's a whole other thing. I certainly want to keep this upbeat, and I love geotagging. I would love to probably John, we're recording this in the late summer of 2023. I'm going to make a mental note that like in the spring of next year,
Mhm.
let's do a follow-up and see what we've learned and see some use cases and how it's morphed and created new
Yep.
opportunities. Because I think that would be a great 1 and 2 part thing to see, because it's just something. And listen, you start doing it, you're successful, you're going to get ripped off. But the way I look at people that rip me off is I'm going to be so far ahead that they're just picking up my crumbs of what I did years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
So,
And
yeah.
I expect it. It's, even in the pay-per-click ad space, obviously, I mean, we've got competitors, but yeah, I'm almost flattered when folks, yeah, I've seen copy that I've personally written years ago on websites.
Same.
And I'm kind of flattered by it. Like, I know it works. And so, okay, you want to steal it? That's
And
fine.
listen, here's how I look at it, John. And then I look at other consultants, coaches, whatever we all are. Take the exact things that I said and use it as your own, because I don't have a
Mhm.
trademark on most ideas.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I want to see people successful. So if
Yeah.
they ultimately give it to another restorer who actually turns that into success and builds a business of their dreams, then I'm still winning, and I'm okay with it. And then I internally know, but I'm not big. I only have one trademark to my name, and that's not one of them. So anyway, let's wrap up and tell me let's go back from the nuclear bomb of geotagging and talk back about PPC. That's obviously still very relevant. Lots and lots and lots of changes in that. I certainly only see it from a periphery about a lot of talk about that. AI is a big thing. Is there anything that you can leave us with that people need to keep in mind as here we are, like I said, 2023 in the Google ad space business? Is there anything revolutionary or warnings that you can give somebody some value?
Yeah, so Google has been trying to put me out of business for 10 years. They've made it easier and easier and easier, finger quotes, to for anybody to create an ad account. They will write ads for you. They will A/B test. It's all the algorithm, right? The one thing that Google refuses to give us is the ability to say, hey, turn my ads off at X. Whether that's a date, an amount spent, they refuse to give us that. Can they do it? Of course, but they don't want to, because Google is not a search company. They're an ad platform.
They are.
And they exist to make Google money. Not you. They don't care about your return. They say they do, but they don't. They want retention and revenue. So, I was talking with a customer the other day and talking about Tori, my sister, who works for us and who came on. Literally, the first thing she did was simply watch the spins of these accounts throughout the day and then pause them manually. It's a manual click that she has to do to pause them so that we don't go over the budget the client has set for us. And he made the comment like, well, can't you automate that? And I said, no. I mean, that's why I employ her. That's why she does 100 different things now for us. But that's literally why I reached out and said, I need someone I can trust. I'm giving them the keys to our business, but I need someone attentive who can help me control this, because Google doesn't give us that functionality. So what I have noticed when we sent out the announcement of geofencing as a service to existing clients, I gave them about a 2.5 week notice. So they knew about it before it ever went public. And what I noticed was the clients of ours under 40 were the ones that reached out.
Yeah.
And the ones under 35 reached out within 30 minutes. The guys over that, yeah, I've heard it. I don't really know how it works, and so it is very, very tempting for a young restoration company with obviously young ownership to try to do this in-house, any kind of digital advertising and marketing. The problem is Google is not your friend. Google does not care about your advertising budget like you do or like a competent firm will. Be careful with trying to save some bucks and doing things yourself, because again, these platforms are designed to make the platform money, not you money. So that's a danger with a younger average ownership. And these guys were raised in the digital world. You and I are analog/digital folks. So that stuff comes more naturally to them, but you cannot, it's the meme we put out as part of our advertising. You are not ABC restoration and digital marketing and advertising.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest thing on the pay-per-click side, is just be careful. These platforms exist to make the platform money, and you really need a competent firm to manage that for you. I'm sorry, that's how it works. Just like I'm not going to represent myself in court, right? I'm going to hire an expert.
Right. I'm going to hire. And I think that's sound advice. I use the same approach to a lot of things, and I let your customer know that you're really great at kind of one things and maybe a few associated things, like you might do water and fire, but mold is part of that. Trauma obviously is an easy bolt on. But if you all of a sudden say that you are a insurance agent as well, all of a sudden you've really confused the whole situation, and you're going to do all your own. And by the way, John, you don't need to even say this, but I've watched people try to do their own ads and stuff.
Oh yeah.
With horrible results, and call me and ask me, I've messed up, spent too much money, a lot of money, whatever, attracted the wrong customers. I'm getting all the iPhone water damage people in the world. And, and who do you know? And that's where that begins. But listen, I get it. We're entrepreneurs are bulletproof, and 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And
and we have to do a lot. We have to wear a lot of hats, especially in the early stages. One more pro tip I want to give. Go into social media. For a long time I thought, do restoration companies need a social media presence? Does it need to be a part of their overall digital advertising and marketing strategy? I told you earlier, 2020 is what kind of convinced me they do. And a lot of these guys are potentially blowing it. Their personal brand, like themselves personally, or their brand, their business brand, with some of the stuff they're putting out. But, and those are the extreme examples. For any company doing social media, here's my advice. Do not talk about what you do. No one cares. No one reads it. Okay, maybe grandma cares, maybe your mom cares, but no one in the public cares about the thing that you do. What people care about and what they engage with are stories. Talk about what you're doing in your community. Talk about your people. Make your people heroes on your Facebook page or your Instagram page. Talk about what people have said about you in the past. Just take a review and highlight that. I've got on my website, again, you go to unitedrestorers.com/Facebook-marketing. It's all of this and more, and a calendar of how you should post, when you should post. Anybody likes a good story, and we frankly need more good stories out there. It is what people engage with on social media. It is the most powerful tool that you have, and it's cheap. You don't need a company like ours to do it for you. If you've got someone in your business who is locked in, they know what's going on a daily basis, they have some computer savvy, that person can run your social media. But tell good stories. It's all you got to do on social media. But stop giving us 5 tips to winterize your home. And certainly don't mix personal and business. It's a recipe for disaster. Tell good stories.
Yeah, I actually, yesterday was my writing day, and I sat and wrote some blogs. And one of them is, I think service companies should be content creators in the right way. And I think that they're missing the opportunity of a service that people are always looking for the best they can find, or somebody they can relate to. And my blog, I may even, no, not may, I now know I'm going to send it to you to read through and make sure I hit the high points. I'm a storyteller. I hear you, and I think I intermingle my business, and my stories come into it, but my life is my business. But I tell people,
your stories are great though. I love reading your stories. If I see a post of yours that's like less than 4 lines, I might read it. But if I see the see more, I'm reading it. 10 times out of 10, I'm clicking that and I'm reading the whole thing.
And I believe that people like to work with people they know and understand and trust. And if someone's human and you're like, that's just not just a dude trying to get me to click a link. But I was telling a group last week, we were talking about, or they were talking about it, and I said, here's a tip. Your customer doesn't care about GPP. They don't care when you tell them you've got the best dehumidifiers compared to what? How do they know that's true? And anyone can read Seth Godin, All Marketers Are Liars. It's what other people say about you is huge. And then if they can trust you. So I dirty job photos, I always say that restaurants don't show dirty dishes in the kitchen and those ugly grease traps. They don't show that. They show people in the lobby having a great meal, a close up of the scallops and stuff like that. And I said, think along those lines is what attracts you in your, and I think you should, I don't think social media management is what an entrepreneur should be spending their time with. It's a valuable thing, but it's not the most high value. And I think that is in the category of things that you should find and outsource those types of things so that you can leverage your time on those bigger, high value, high volume things. And, but I think, I see people's Facebook pages all the time, John, and I know you do, that they posted 1 in 2021, 2 in 2023.
They had a streak of posts. Yeah.
And then someone tagged them and then there's nothing for a long time. And it might as well have done nothing at that point. So it's good stuff. Good tip. Again, it's real easy to dismiss social media because of maybe your belief system or your worldview and things. But I think that we all use it. We all look at it. We all believe it. I heard yesterday that Celine Dion died because it was said on Facebook. It ended up being not true. I didn't think I heard about Celine Dion. I knew
my heart will go on.
Yeah, my heart will go on. But it looked legit, but it was not legit. So too legit to quit. Man, that's good stuff. So you agree that we can get back together in January, February, March when you're snowed in Idaho?
I'm, watching what I believe this winter is going to produce, especially in the South. I'm not just limiting this to hurricanes and tropical storms. This is, polar vortexes, whatever they start calling them now. Any kind of severe weather, this can be utilized in. And so I think if this hurricane season doesn't produce the number of hurricanes that we think it will, or the severity of the season, I think we'll be able to use it specifically in this use case during the winter. I think we're going to have, kind of like last year, an earlier winter, very severe, and because it's an El Nino season, I think the South is going to see some really, really chilly temps. So that means pipes bursting potentially, and I would love to deploy this there. So that's a ripe audience.
That geofencing during that vortex in Dallas a couple of years ago would have been incredible. I was there, but so summarize, close the thing down. 2 things I think, and in the link or in the description below, let's put a link to the marketing page where they can get that resource that you put openly on your website, so you can go directly. And then the other is whether or not you're working with someone or you're not really putting a lot of time and energy into pay-per-click. I know John doesn't charge for his phone calls to discuss it. I try to get time on his calendar, and he's like, I've got calls with people trying to figure things out. And so just give yourself space to check it out. Make sure that you're not paying plumbers $1,500 when you could be paying marginally huge amounts less in a more strategic way. That is long term. They will be your customers that found you. They'll feel ownership with it, and that's key.
Yeah, my approach, if you're going to do a plumber's referral program, which again, the best plumber referral program is just acquiring a plumbing company, and then you don't have to do as much pay-per-click marketing after that. But that is the best strategy, and I've told restorers that for years. But reputation through a relationship with a plumber. Stake that, build that relationship based on your reputation and their reputation. Watch both brands grow as a result. If you look at your plumbers, rather, the plumbing relationship that most restorers have is very transactional, and it shouldn't be that way. You should be partnering with brands you trust, people you trust, who have a reputation that is rock solid, and that the relationship between the two of you should be staking your reputation along with theirs, serving the customer. That's the right way of doing it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. John,
it was great catching up with you.
Appreciate your time. Let's hope to see you soon. I mean, I think I haven't done a lot of trade shows. You don't really do a lot of those things, but maybe we can find an excuse to meet somewhere in the next 12 months. But otherwise, we have this. So appreciate it. If anybody wants to reach out, check the links, check out how to leverage these tools for your market, and just win the game. If you're doing the hard work, you might as well get paid to do it. So
Yep.
appreciate it. Take it, John.
All right. Thank you, Clark.